Hi, and my name is Simiran Choudhary. I welcome you all on behalf of Voice of Healthcare in a new initiative, Leadership Talks Cancer Awareness Edition. And I welcome you, Amit, for our show.
Thank you, Simran. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same here, Amit. And for our audience, I just want to tell everyone that Mr. Amit Chhabra is the Chief Business Officer of Policy Bazaar, and here today he is with us to discuss about how health insurance can safeguard your health and finances in the face of cancer diagnosis. Amit, starting with the Policy Bazaar, I like everyone knows about Policy Bazaar, and the aim of Policy Bazaar is to simplify the insurance, because everyone knows that insurance is a very complicated term, very heavy term, and how complicated it is when it gets to buying an insurance and understanding everything. So I
Mhm.
believe Policy Bazaar is doing very great in terms of what they actually aim for, and that's why you have the maximum shares in the market. That is 93.4% of digital insurance company, and that is very appreciated work you guys all are doing.
No, so I'm glad that glad at what you said, but I would look at it from a different angle. I think there is still a very long way to go
Yeah,
for us as Policy Bazaar, and I think for India as a country when it comes to insurance. India is a very underpenetrated market when it comes to insurance. People
yeah,
are not covered sufficiently enough for a critical illness. They are not covered for a for in case the earning member of the family passes away. People are not covered sufficiently at all, and while these are hopefully it doesn't happen to anybody, but the sad reality of the world is that it does happen. And
yeah,
in the aftermath of COVID, it started to happen even more. A lot of young
exactly.
healthy people get impacted with critical illnesses. So I think it's actually quite a scary situation. I'll be very honest. It's quite a scary situation when you have to suddenly shell out 10-20 lakh rupees out of thin air because one has contracted some illness or you don't have insurance, because it leads to so much chaos in somebody's life, because you have to cancel your investments, you have to liquidate your fixed deposits, or we have seen cases where people have to even sell off some land or some property to take that money. And the unfortunate part is that health insurance is comparatively so much cheaper. And it's not as if people don't have money. We spend money so much on discretionary stuff like taking a vacation, going for a movie, going for a party. So we do anyways do all of that. It's just that insurance, it comes quite below, in our priorities at times, which is a very risky situation to be in. So that's why I'm saying I think there is still a very long way to go. The insurance penetration is still quite low in India, and I think as Policy Bazaar, we that's our endeavor. That we want to protect people from death, disease, and disability. So we will continue educating people, guiding them on making sure that they are protected sufficiently.
Like you said, this after the COVID thing, many people realize its value and stuff, and you are in a race or in a way to achieve the awareness about diseases, insurance, and how they can protect themselves, by not even like selling their lands or disinvesting their investments and stuff. And that's why Policy Bazaar is there to help us, general public, in view of that. But I just want to continue this what you said in terms of diseases, illness, and things. Since February is a national cancer prevention month, and we all know cancer is how the disastrous, dangerous, and deathly. So how health insurance typically covers for individual with cancer, and if someone who was diagnosed with cancer, can they still buy that insurance policy in mid of when they have diagnosed the cancer, and how can they save them from this heavy hospital expenses, treatments, and so many things which we all even don't know?
Sure. So two parts to that, Simran. The first part is getting a health insurance policy after somebody is diagnosed with cancer. It is possible, and I'll come to what is possible, but it's not advisable at all, because the kind of policy you get is going to be extremely limited, not which covers for all your expenses, etc. So one is, if you are fit and healthy, and I pray to God that everybody is like that. If you are fit and healthy, it's good to buy a health insurance policy now, so that you cover for anything, including cancer, if it ever comes, in your lifetime. So that is 99%, that is the right advice to give. And everybody must do, and not rely on buying a policy, after somebody has been diagnosed with cancer. That's part one. So one must look to buy a health insurance policy now when you're fit and fine and healthy. Now, if God forbid, one is in a situation where you don't have a health insurance policy and somebody's been
Yeah.
diagnosed with cancer, it gets very, very difficult and rare that you can get a policy. Typically, what that needs is for your cancer to be cured, and some time should have passed from that stage, is when you can get a couple of health insurance policies which are specially designed for people who have recovered from cancer.
Okay.
And these are, one, they are very expensive, and second, they are limited in their coverage. So they will have co-payments, which will mean that in case a claim is needed, some part of the claim will have to be paid by the customer or policy holder, and the rest will be paid by the policy. That's one. Second, they also put a lot of restrictions. So
Hmm.
cancer as such becomes a negative category for this policy, which means that if it's a relapse of cancer, then that is not covered actually. What it covers for is other things. So, for
Okay.
example, if somebody is recovered from cancer but they face an accident, and
Hmm.
and it needs a surgery of the leg or something like that, or you get diagnosed with COVID or typhoid, or something like that, that gets covered. But
Okay.
cancer will still not be covered. And unfortunately, that's also a very, very common scenario, that if you recover from cancer, it might come back to you again at some point in your life again.
Yeah.
There, you may still not get covered, by your health insurance policy. So you can get something. So there is some hope, but it's not really, I won't call it the brightest hope out there. So the brightest hope out there is to buy a health insurance policy today when you're fit and fine, so that if anything ever happens to you, your health insurance policy is there to at least cover you financially.
Not completely for cancer, but it will save you
Somewhat. So it will give you
somewhat.
some sort of coverage. It will save you some money, but it's not the ideal coverage that one wants. It's quite basic coverage.
So it's wise to select your insurance policy accordingly and beforehand, like you were saying earlier also. It's always good and better to invest in insurance, health insurance policy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the sooner you buy in your life, the better it is,
Hmm.
because you would have moved on from all waiting periods that health insurance policy
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
So it's and you never know, when the bad time starts, nobody knows. It might be tomorrow, it might be 10 years later, it might never come also. I would, as saying, I would try to pray to God that the bad time never comes. But then you have to always be prepared for the worst. And that is where, having a health insurance policy helps. Like a very personal example, a very, very dear friend of mine,
Yeah.
he's one of my MBA batchmates. He bought a critical illness policy. You won't believe, within 3 months of buying the policy, he was diagnosed with blood cancer.
Oh no.
Now, because there are waiting periods in a critical illness policy, the policy got cancelled because unfortunately he got diagnosed. But the point is, he could have bought that policy 1 year, 2 year back. Also, he had all the money, he was earning, everything was okay. And over the period of the last couple of years, he spent more than 50 lakh rupees on his treatment, and it's a cost which is going to continue for a lifetime, because you need to look for some sort of medical treatment all the time. So my point is, it was, he was just plus minus 1 year into no medical expenses, versus spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So
Yeah.
you never, and I'm talking about a very young guy. So all I'm trying to say is, you never know when it strikes. That's why I'm saying one should not wait. And insurance has become so much more affordable now, with things like monthly payment modes available. All you're spending is 1,000 to 2,000 rupees a month, which is something that we spend all the time on eating out, or watching a movie, or gifting somebody something. So I'm saying this is the most basic form of protection that one can anybody take.
Yeah. And one of the bestest gift if someone buys for the other or the family, I believe.
Absolutely, why not? One
Yeah.
that's definitely well said.
So, like you talked about critical illness, and illness is one of the biggest question. Like, how does it impact the cancer insurance coverage if someone has taken this critical illness insurance?
So there are just taking a step back. Actually, that's an important question. There are two parts to how one gets impacted. One, when let's say cancer. Let's talk about cancer. When
Yeah,
cancer strikes, you get impacted in actually three ways. One is obviously your own personal health, because one would get hospitalized, and there's so much mental trauma also that one goes through, because cancer is a very taboo word, unfortunately, in India still, right? So
yeah,
there is so much mental trauma. It's physical trauma for the person who's diagnosed. For the families, it's also so much mental trauma. So that's part one, and unfortunately, insurance can't help that part. But there are two more parts which are which are important, where insurance comes in. The first is the medical cost, the treatment of cancer. So
mm,
one might have to be hospitalized for a surgery. You might require regular chemotherapy sessions. Now, and there's a lot of cost to it, and the cost for this, you would want to go to the best hospital in the country if you get diagnosed with cancer. The cost of this goes into tens of lakhs of rupees, very quickly. So one is that cost, and then you must have health insurance to cover or indemnify you against this cost, so that
yeah,
at least when you are struggling for your fight against cancer, you don't want to be financially struggling as well,
correct.
right? Because you would still want your home EMIs to go, you would still want your family's expenses, your child's school fees to go, etc., etc. So
Correct.
in that sense, at least making sure that you have a peace of mind from a financial angle, I think that is one very, very important part. So a
Yeah,
health insurance policy covers for the medical treatment for cancer, and cancer is actually just one example. It covers for treatment against anything that may happen to you. So that is
yeah,
one part which is very important. The other part is also looking to protect your income.
yeah.
See, because what happens is, as if in case one gets diagnosed with cancer, also leads to a lot of distraction in your work life. Of course,
Mm,
if you're not well, if you're traumatized, then you can't be, working at the same level at which you were working earlier. You may not be able to go to your office. You may not be able to go to your shops or your business or your factory, or whatever one does. Now, in such a scenario, your income also takes a back seat. We've seen people losing jobs. Companies do support, but again, not everybody will support you till the very end. So the other point is, it's also important to protect your income, so that your own lifestyle, your family's lifestyle, the basic necessities are fulfilled, which is where a fixed benefit critical illness policy becomes very, very important. I'll explain what that means. It means that on diagnosis of cancer or any other critical illness, a fixed lump sum amount is paid out to you.
yeah.
Now, this is to be used theoretically. This is to be used for taking care of the loss of income that happens because one is diagnosed with a critical illness. So your health
Okay.
insurance policy, the second thing that we discussed, takes care of the medical treatment. This takes care of the loss of income, which can be used to pay your home EMIs, your car EMIs, or your family's expenses. So these two elements of insurance are extremely important to protect you from the financial impacts of cancer, or any other major illness that might come up, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think if that is there, then you can a person who has taken the critical illness insurance can smoothly or without any less tension can go into the treatment and diagnosis, and family will be less into pressure.
Exactly, that is the point, right? See, getting diagnosed with cancer in itself, is
It's a
amazing level
trauma,
of
I believe.
trauma, right? It's extremely traumatic. When I heard
Very.
about one of my closest friends getting cancer, it was too much mental trauma for me at that point. So imagine, so that's already there, and above and beyond that, there is a financial element to it. Who's going to pay my child's school fees? Who's going to pay my home EMIs? A lot of people live month to month.
Yeah,
You get your salary, half of it goes into house EMIs, 10% goes into the car
exactly.
EMI, and then rest of it goes into your daily expenses. There are, like, a large chunk of India lives on a monthly basis, to be honest. So in such a situation, something like cancer striking, essentially it means the end of the road for the entire family, because you don't know how to pay your house EMIs the next month, right? That is where insurance becomes extremely critical, so that if you're ever in such a situation, at least you're there is at least some peace of mind that your family is secured. That part, it's almost scary that people don't think about it. And there are so many people who are exposed to a potential risk like that, but they just don't think about it.
I can totally understand this, Amit, because my grandmother had cancer. She was diagnosed at fourth stage of pancreatic cancer, and I can totally understand how my family, how we all went through the trauma. And yes, it impacted financially as well. We recovered. We had that privilege that we can go through the treatments. Even she didn't had that health insurance, and then we realized that how insurance is important. So the next thing we did after that diagnosis, that all the ladies of the house, all the men of the house got health insurance, and that's how we are a little bit tension free. That okay, if something happens, then we are all prepared, and that is how insurance is helping us.
No, absolutely. One can't put a value to the health insurance policy because of the mental peace it gives. I'll share an example of one of our customers. So
Hmm.
this person is claimed, unfortunately, this person got diagnosed with cancer about a couple of years back. So this person is still now claimed 1.5 crore rupees for treatment of cancer in the last 2 years. It's a
Okay.
complicated form of cancer. So there's been multiple round of treatments and surgeries and there's been a relapse also. So extremely complex case. But the point I'm trying to say is 1.5 crore rupees have been paid by the health insurance policy. You know how much premium is paid till now? He's only paid 90,000 rupees. All I'm
He
trying to
is
say is that one can't now imagine if he had tried to save those 90,000 rupees.
he would have paid this
It's a
1.5
no-brainer.
crores then.
Exactly. And nobody has that kind of money handy, right? Very few people have that kind of money
No
handy.
one.
What do you do at that point? You sell your house because you want your life first, right? House can again come at some point, maybe. But that's the unfortunate part, and still so many people don't do this.
Yes. Amit, we also talked about waiting period and limitations, like you discussed about your friend's case. So, what is it and how does it impact the coverage for critical illness? Can you please shed some light over it? Because I know it looks very heavy, waiting period limitations, and we all run from this. And that's why the process looks very complicated. So, please elaborate this.
Sure, sure. No, that's what Policy Bazaar is for. That's
Yeah.
it's our job, I would say, to make sure that we educate people about what each policy has, what are the waiting periods, what are the exclusions. See, essentially, there are typically a waiting period means that whenever you buy a policy, a certain type of claim can be made after a certain amount of time. The reason is you don't want somebody coming in who already has cancer to come in and next day claim for cancer, because obviously that then the insurance company cannot survive or the pricing cannot survive.
Correct.
So what happens in typical health insurance policies is that there is a 30 days waiting period for critical illnesses, which
Okay.
means that if you are buying a health insurance policy, then after 30 days you can claim for a critical illness, assuming that it's not a pre-existing disease. So
Okay.
you can't buy a policy and claim for cancer after 30 days if you already have cancer. But if you don't have cancer, but after 30 days, one gets diagnosed with cancer, then you can just go ahead and claim it. It's a eligible claim. That's part one. The second part is in the fixed benefit policies, the other types where we protect the income.
Hmm.
There again, there is a waiting period, and that waiting period varies by company to company. In some cases it's 3 months, in some cases it's 1 year. But there is a waiting period after which, if a diagnosis happens, then you get the fixed amount paid. So in my friend's policy, that waiting period was 1 year, which means
Okay.
that you get paid for diagnosis of cancer after 1 year. Again, the objective is the same, that you don't want anybody who's already diagnosed with cancer to come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fairly simple. These are the waiting periods that are there, and there is nothing else apart from that. So that's the only waiting period actually which is there. So one needs to just be, careful that you, as early as possible, pass those waiting periods, because if something happens, unfortunately, within the waiting period, like what happened with my friend, then unfortunately the claim will not be paid and the policy will get lapsed. But apart from that, once the waiting periods are over, which is what happened in this other gentleman's case, where we've paid claims of 1.5 crore rupees, then everything is payable and it gets paid completely.
Yeah. And like you said, the waiting periods of 30 days, so that so the company doesn't have to pay the amount directly when it comes to the company, the person who buys the cancer, who buys the critical illness insurance. So does that person also have to show the medical reports earlier that, there's no, he's not diagnosed with cancer, everything is fine, the health reports and stuff like that?
See, so there are declarations that are taken from anybody buying a health insurance policy, where we ask them if if there is any pre-existing disease, if they have ever been diagnosed with something, etc., etc.
Hmm.
That is what is asked for, but you don't have to show any reports. But yes, you must be. So what's very very important, I think you're touching the right point. What is very very important is that one must be saying the truth. You don't
Yeah.
want to ever be in a situation where you say that you've never been diagnosed with cancer, but you actually have been, because it
Yeah.
does come out. One can lie to an insurance company, but you cannot lie to a hospital, to the treating doctor at a later stage.
Hmm.
And then when you go for treatment, the insurance company finds out, from the doctor or from somewhere else, that there has been a diagnosis in the past, and claims do get rejected because of that reason. So if one is truthful and honest in declaration, then your claim cannot really be denied.
And have Policy Bazaar have ever came across a case where a person who's buying a critical insurance thing, and submitting fake reports that he is fit, healthy, and there's no case of cancer, family history, or whatever it is, and then it comes out that the person has cancer? Because I
So
believe people go for these policies where they make fake reports from doctors.
see, I'll tell you what, people do try, but it's our endeavor always to educate the people, educate the consumer at large on what is the right thing to do. So,
Hmm.
like for example, in our sales process, multiple times over recorded lines, we confirm with the customer that there's no pre-existing disease, and it need not be a very large critical illness like cancer. Something very small as I have a bit of high blood pressure. You
Hmm.
must declare it. If you don't declare it, it's like a breach of a contract, right? So,
Correct.
see, health insurance is a legal contract. You are buying something
Hmm.
with certain disclosures and saying that this is who I am. But if this is not who you are, then insurance company is liable to cancel your contract or cancel your policy. So we at various stages in our buying journey, we ask the consumer, sir or ma'am, do you have something? Have you ever been hospitalized? Has there ever been any treatment, etc., etc.? And the intention is fairly simple. The intention is that the customer must be declaring if there is something, that the claim there is no claim grievance at the later stage. The point is, if because we are able to inform the customer very 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 timely and clearly that in case you lie, then the claim will not be paid, there is actually no incentive for a customer to lie. So which is
Correct.
why we
Correct.
don't see, or we see very rarely these cases that a customer has a critical illness and they have lied. But yeah, it does happen, in the world overall. It does happen a lot, and customers do that, and eventually those claims get denied as well.
So transparency is the key if you actually want to take benefit of insurance policy.
Absolutely. It's a legal contract, right? You enter into a legal contract, and if you're lying, then unfortunately it's of no value.
Correct, correct. And Amit, I just want to know what actually ideal health insurance coverage constitutes of. Like with the family history of cancer, should individual consider this? I should take additional features in the policy. Like if I talk about myself, my grandmother has pancreatic cancer. Luckily, the next generation hasn't diagnosed with it, and let's pray it doesn't come. But in case I have to take a healthy, an ideal health insurance, so if there's this history of cancer in my family, so what features does a policy company can offer me?
Sure. See, uh, assuming there are no other existing diseases, you're all fit and fine, then I would essentially say that you must buy a good comprehensive health insurance policy. The most important feature there is sum insured. So you must look to maximize the sum insured. The most logical way to look at sum insured is you should buy a 1 crore sum insured. I think that is a fairly large amount. And in Indian context, 1 crore sum insured means that you can spend up to 1 crore rupees every year on hospitalization. Plus, the sum insured also grows over time. So,
Yeah.
and that's not very costly. That's the reason I'm saying 1 crore is because it's not a very costly number as well. So that
Hmm.
is what one should bare minimum must have, and one should buy it when you're fit and fine and healthy, so that you can easily get that policy as well. there should be no sublimits, no co-payments, and I'll explain in simple terms what that means. So one is there should be no co-payment, which means that the entire claim should be paid by the insurance company, and the customer need not pay anything at the time of claim. That's one. Second, there should not be any sublimit, which means that you can go to any room of your choice at any hospital in the country. So you can go to Medanta, you can take a suite room in Medanta and get treated in privacy and comfort.
Okay.
Uh, there should not be any sublimit on any specific type of treatment. Like, for example, some policies put sublimits on knee replacement or cataract. There should not be any of those sublimits. Does not cost much, but sometimes, being penny wise, pound foolish, you end up buying a slightly cheaper policy which has these sublimits, and you end up paying lakhs later on. So buy a good comprehensive policy. That's one. And if you want to go over and above, and again, it's not very very expensive. One can also look to have a global coverage policy, which means that in case of diagnosis of certain type of illnesses, one can even go outside India and get treated. So imagine,
Hmm.
one gets cancer, and you're not certain. Although I think India is now very very advanced in terms of medical treatment,
Yeah.
but if one wants to go to John Hopkins in the US and get treated, you can actually, use the insurance policy and go outside the country and get treated as well.
Hmm.
Another big another big advantage that these global policies actually give you is access to top class treatment. So
Hmm.
I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Getting an appointment with the top doctor at John Hopkins is not easy itself. It
Yeah.
takes 3 months, 6 months to even get that appointment.
Correct.
If you actually go through insurance, you can easily get that appointment as well, because the insurance company avails that appointment for you. So it also gets you access to top class medical practitioners, and obviously the expenses are paid by the insurance company. These policies are a bit expensive, which is why I'm saying if you want to go over and above, you can look to get a global coverage, but bare minimum one must have a high sum insured policy in India, so that cancer, heart, COVID, dengue, anything big or small, you're at least covered for anything that might happen to you.
So there are many features or which can protect and help a person in this case. Yeah.
Absolutely,
And
it is basically sum insured. One must have a high sum insured, so that if there is a 10, 20, 50 lakh rupee expense, you don't have to worry
hmm,
about it.
correct. But the person has to be transparent.
Oh yeah, yeah, you can't lie. If you
Yeah.
lie, then the insurance company basically denies your claim eventually.
And you won't get additional features as well.
Yeah, yeah, leave alone features. No, your policy will get
Not
cancelled.
even
So
the policy. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yes, that's right.
So when it comes to buying an insurance policy, we have a lot of options, which which keeps us confused and in a dilemma. Okay, which one to go, which one is better, and which one to pick. Like when we go to an ice cream shop, कि chocolate भी अच्छा है, Belgian भी अच्छा है, mango भी अच्छा है, सब कुछ अच्छा है. So what when we go to that, what might be the perfect match? What should an individual with cancer looking for choose and pick up that will be the right plan for the person?
Are you asking for somebody who already has cancer or looking to buy a policy in general?
The person who already has cancer.
Oh, so they actually may not have a lot of ice creams in that shop. Fortunately,
Okay.
there are only a couple of options. There is a policy by Care Health called Care Freedom,
Yeah.
which has a lot of limitations. But yeah, that's one policy that one can get. There is a policy by Star Health called Cancer Care, which is
Hmm.
specifically built for cancer survivors. That is
Okay.
again another option, but again, as I said, fairly limited by nature. So there
Hmm.
are there are only so much options. So if you already have been diagnosed with cancer in the past, then you don't have unfortunately you don't have many options. It's fairly limited by design.
So if a person has to go for these plans when जब जागो तभी सवेरा वाला चीज अगर मैं बोलूं इसको तो so there's very limited option to save them.
Yeah, very very limited. Very very extremely limited. Which is why I keep on saying one should buy a policy when they
Hmm.
are fit and fine and healthy. Because see, you have to also look at it from the insurance company's perspective, right?
Yeah.
They are running a business. They get
Correct.
premiums, and they hope that only a certain number of people get ill every year. They pay the
Hmm.
claims, and then rest is their income. They have to also
Correct.
earn. They're a private company. They're not doing social service. And
Hmm.
somebody who has cancer, who has had cancer in the past, the chances of those people unfortunately falling ill again is very very high. So in such a scenario, they would be very reluctant to give a health insurance policy. In fact, both of these policies, as I mentioned, are very very actually recent. Till about a
Okay.
couple of years back, you could not get a policy for cancer survivors at all. So this is
Okay.
also happened over time with a lot of advancement in terms of understanding the risk, in terms of designing products which can survive, the kind of medical expenses somebody who's already been diagnosed with cancer will come up with. So not as I said, the options are not very bright for somebody who already has cancer.
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, One should just buy, as soon as possible. In case, you are in that unfortunate scenario, there are still a couple of options. That's the good news.
Okay. So something is there to save you. Little
Yeah,
bit, but yes, something is there in the market. Yeah.
that's
So
true. That's rightly said.
correct. Amit, one another question, like what is the game plan if your health insurance claim is denied, right? And if that is done, then how does Policy Bazaar swoop in to save with claim settlements and uh, offers you can offer?
Oh, so a lot of options, Simran. And I'll explain why. See, insurance is an extremely regulated industry. I think we are blessed to have IIDAI, our regulator. So they keep an extremely close watch on claims. So a
Hmm.
claim just cannot be denied on the whims and fancies of the insurance companies. One can't just wake up tomorrow and say that today I'm going to reject all the claims or reject some of the claims. There
Yeah.
has to be a very very, there are only two ways a claim can ever be denied. The first is a claim can be denied if the customer lied or didn't disclose a pre-existing disease, as we were discussing. So I didn't tell the insurance company that I had cancer in the past, but I had. If the insurance company finds out, they can deny the claim, and they find
Correct.
out,
Hmm.
right? So that's one. Second is a claim can get denied if the waiting periods aren't over. So if there is a policy term or condition, which is not fulfilled yet, then the claim can still be denied. So if the policy says that cancer will be covered after 30 days, I
Yeah.
cannot claim till 29 days, and if I claim, the claim will get denied.
Okay.
These are largely the two reasons. Apart from this, if the customer is not lying, there is no third reason why a claim can ever be denied by any insurance company. If they do, there are many recourses available. The first recourse available is, to go to the person who you bought from. So, like, as Policy Bazaar, we assist our customers to the T when it comes to claims. So
Hmm.
just to give you an example, we run a program called. So one is we provide the customers on ground claim support,
Hmm.
which means that if a customer is at a hospital, we actually within 30 minutes send our guy to the hospital. This happens in about 125 odd cities, where our guy will go to the hospital, help you file the claim, discuss with the doctor if need be, discuss with the TPA desk if need be, coordinate with the insurance company if any help is required. But the person will ensure that your claim is approved and paid as soon as
Hmm.
possible. So that is one. Second, if ever there is a denial, then we run a program called the Claim Samadhan program, where we get consumers to discuss with the insurance company, wherever a claim is denied, and we act as the customer's lawyers. We are
Okay.
the customer's broker anyways, but for the sake of simplicity, using a simple word, we act as the customer's lawyers. We represent, we fight, we debate out a customer's claim in case the insurance company denies it and we feel that is wrongfully denied. And every month, almost 1,000 odd claims, which were wrongfully denied are approved. Every month
Hmm.
this actually happens. So we run this program extensively to help our consumers. So if anybody faces that issue, we are out there, and we go all the way up to fighting with the insurance company tooth and nail in case there is a wrongful denial, and we ensure that the claim is approved. If so that's the second recourse. Hopefully with that, no claims do get stuck, but if needed, one can go to the insurance ombudsman as well.
Yeah.
Insurance ombudsman is a government body whose job is to help customers who have a problem with their insurance policy or insurance company. Fourthly, you can then eventually go all the way up to the regulator as well. As I said, they are extremely active, and
Hmm.
they look at insurance claims very, very closely. So you can even escalate to the regulator, and they take action on that as well. With all of this, I can assure you that there is no claim which is genuine where the customer has not lied will not get approved. that is something that has happened over the years. It's stood the test of time. Through COVID, it's only become stronger actually, because the regulator took a very strong view on claims during COVID to ensure that no claims are wrongfully denied. There is no way today that any claim which is genuine and the customer has been truthful, it will never get denied. I can assure you that much.
Correct. And because of your statement, I am assured, and obviously, I believe our listeners are also assured that you have to be genuine, you have to be truthful, you have to be transparent. And if you're that, your claim will not be get denied. And even if something is wrong, the situation is something there where you can justify the thing. Policy Bazaar have offers in things where they can come and save you.
Absolutely, so claims should not be your worry, when you buy a
Yeah.
health insurance policy. Just be truthful, declare right, and rest all will be taken care of.
Amit, thank you so much for this complete, insightful session. Even I have got to know so many things as a session sent from you, especially about the policy bazaar, the health insurance, the critical illness and stuff. That if I have to sum up, that it should be first thing, go and take a health insurance. सेकंड इज बी ट्रांसपेरेंट टू योर इंश्योरेंस कंपनी लाइक वी से कि अपने डॉक्टर अपने लॉयर से जितना एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी बनाए रख सकते हो उतना बनाए रखो तभी दे कैन कम एंड ट्रीट यू एंड सेव यू ऑन द डे दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग एंड if a cancer a person who has already diagnosed with cancer has very less options in the market, but yes, there is someone, the policies are there to save them. And I believe the market is getting stronger and stronger day by day with the advancements. And after the COVID case, like the how people are more concerned about their health and more shifting towards health, fitness and wellness, and that's how they are saving their lives. And policy bazaar to fir hai market mein to save them.
Yep, absolutely. I think very, 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 very well summarized, Simran. And we keep educating people on why health insurance is important and one must buy. And I think kudos to you guys also. I think you guys are doing a great job, in the same direction. But yeah,
Thank you so
as I
much.
said, we are still very far from where we should be in terms of insurance penetration, and still so many families, are exposed to a very, very large potential risk. So one must, buy a health insurance policy as soon as you can.
Yeah. I'll thank you so much for the kind words and for the insightful session you have given us. I would just like to close this session with a one tagline which I came across while we were talking. Life is uncertain, but it can be beautiful with health insurance.
That's well said. Very well said.
Yeah, nice talking to you, Amit. Nice connecting with you. Hope and looking forward for the much more insightful sessions together.
Thank you, Simran. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you so much, Amit.